For the next, well, roughly 2 months, I am still 20 years old. And then of course I'm going to be 21. So I'll have been 1 year into my 20s and, well, I'm starting to get the hang of how it all works. In my view, the correct way to live is a way that works for you. When I think about what I want to do in the next 9 years now, as in, in my 20s into my 30s, what is it that I aim for? And for me, I think I know what that is. I want to experiment with new ideas. I want to utilise the energy that I have, as in the ability to work for longer, harder. I want to utilise the ability to make mistakes, right? Because, well, in my experience so far, no one actually expects you to know anything, and anything that you do know is a plus, not a given. Whereas when you're like 30s, that may not be the case. And I also want to especially utilise the lack of responsibilities that comes with this stage. Now, of course, it does come with some responsibilities. They're actually starting to pick up quite thick and fast. Your rents, for me, my car, all other bills that might come out. The responsibilities are coming, but they're not huge, right? My car right now isn't very much to run. My rent costs are fairly low. And all sorts of stuff, right? You're not expected to have nice stuff, so you can mess up. You can mess up a lot. And that is how I want to use this time, because it's not in the hopes of necessarily just getting rich or just having this and that. I want the experience that comes with that trial and error. Someone once told me that there's no such thing as a failure, because every failure is a lesson. And that I do kind of agree with. There's never been a time where I've failed at something where I've never thought, right, I'm not doing that again, or right, I should have done this or that. Anyone with a brain learns from their mistakes, and therefore, I'm not too concerned about making any. Now that I've said that though, let's have a think about what most people do. Now, by the way, I'm sure you guys will know by now, this is kind of just an opinion-based video. It's not me saying I'm amazing, because I absolutely am not. It's just my opinion on this given topic. If anything, the reason why I make things like this is to show people that it doesn't have to be a wasted time, because, everything that I just said a second ago is true. You're not expected to know much, you're not expected to do much. So it's acceptable for you to go out all night wasting time and all that sort of stuff. And by the way, even now, with all my businesses and stuff, I have nights where I come back at 6, 7 AM. I'm not going to act like it's a waste of time. For me, it's not clubbing, it's not drinking, it's hanging out with mates and going different places, stuff like that. But not for a second am I going to act like that's not, to me, valuable and a good way to spend my time. For me, that's really fun, and that is an experience that I want. I'm not saying just work, but like I say, I think the whole idea of how you should spend your 20s, maybe I'm wrong, is marketed incorrectly. It's one of those ones where I can't necessarily say objectively that it is wrong, because life is not really an objective thing. We all want different things, and therefore we should all aim for different things. If we want true happiness, we need to fulfill our own wants. For me, though, I can tell one thing, right? I'm not going to take it for granted, because it may not happen. But, God willing, I'm going to live past the age of 29. Hopefully, I do hope, I'll live into old age. The years that I have now are, this is not a maybe or a possibly, this is already happening, because remember, I started my first businesses quite a while ago, so it's already happening. The things that I'm doing now are giving me an advantage, The things that most people start to figure out in their 30s are the things that we should think about figuring out now. If we figure them out later, that's fine. But a consequence of that will be in the same predicament as everybody else. Now, after mapping things out, I think everyone will agree that the first true step in self-actualization is working towards what you want to achieve. And like I say, most people do start to do this maybe mid to late 20s, maybe 30s, early 30s, late 30s, whatever. The advantage that I have now myself is going to give me, and has already given me, like I say, it's not like a theory, it's basically a fact, is given me a knowledge that is going to be supreme to most people at age 30, because whether we're talking about managing money, or, I don't know, training in the gym, the sort of stuff that I've been doing since, what? We'll say the gym, for example, right? Aged 18, roughly. All that sort of stuff that you've been doing, by the time you're 28, you've got 10 years of experience. By the time you're 38, You've got 20 years of experience at only 38. That won't be the case for everybody, and some people at that point are going to have, 5 years of experience in that market, maybe 10 years of experience in that market. They're not going to have the market knowledge that you do. And whether we're talking about that on a financial level, or whether we're talking about that on a, different advantages, it comes with one benefit, and that's that we're going to have a better understanding. Now, I don't want to use a basic example, right, but I think we've all seen the example of the compound interest calculator, where it starts off, let's just say it doubles, something doubles every year, let's say. Year 1, you've got 1, year 2, you've got 2, year 3, you've got 4, year 4, you've got 8, and it rapidly picks up, right? So the graph it spirals up before a long time. It really does start to pick up. So considering that 10 years advantage is going to lead to an overall stronger point and an overall stronger ending. And of course, the sooner we start, the more experience we pick up. The more experience we pick up, the more likely we are to be able to hit that goal, aim, ambition, whatever it is. And like I say, another advantage that you might not have in the future is the ability to make greater mistakes. As I say, the biggest advantage that I think I have at the minute is that nobody expects you to know anything. Like, literally not anything. They think that you need to be taught everything. And some people might say that's patronising or a not nice thing to face, but actually it can be a biggest strength. You want to start a business at 20 and it fails by the time you're 21? What 21-year-old had a business to begin with? You're already massively ahead of the curve. And most people aren't going to judge you because of that. Let's say you decide that you want to change career fields or something like that. You can do that by the time you're 25, and, well, most people, or a lot of people, not most, but a lot of people haven't even graduated from their first degree at that point. So, at the very least, you're going to be on par with everyone else. It seems to be that everyone in their first 10 years of adult life seems to understand the concept of, well, you have got more time, you have got more abilities to make mistakes, you have got more or less social status, and that's actually a good thing. But most people use that to waste that time, I don't know, getting drunk or going clubbing or partying or stuff that they're going to look back on. And yeah, there will be some good times clubbing, I've said it before, right? I'm not going to act like I didn't have any of those times myself. They were short-lived, like the first 2 years of university. But I did have those times, and I enjoyed them, right? They were good times. For me, 2 years really was enough, and I really couldn't go back to doing that every night or every weekend at the minute. But what I will say is, when people do that for 10 years, all of that energy that they had and could have put into, I'm not necessarily saying this is what they should do, but it's examples, right? The energy that you could have put into working a 12-hour shift instead of spending 12 hours in a club or drinking, the energy that you could have spent learning a new skill because your mind still got the, I guess, the neuroplasticity to adapt and adopt new things quickly. The time that you could have spent traveling the world because you didn't have any big bills to pay or anything like that. Are you going to look back on it and think, I'm genuinely happy and glad I spent that time boozing down the pub? You might do, and maybe I'm wrong, but, there's money to be made. There's skills to learn, there's skills to teach, there's places to go, people to see, people to meet, things to, look forward to. So, with that great advantage and that great ability to achieve those things more easily, I'm nothing short of excited. I'm not nervous. I'm a little bit, but I'm not daunted by it. I'm looking forward to it, right? And that's great. So I'm definitely not going to act like my opinion's correct or I'm saying the right thing or anything like that. I make this a big point in every single one of my episodes. My content is nothing more than opinion related. But my opinion on this topic is one thing, right? If you're watching this video and you're a teenager, whatever, or a 20s or even 30s, right? We, especially the former two things, are expected to know much less. Now, don't just look at that as something that's patronising or bad or sad or worrying or anything like that. It's a great ability. I think it's when you achieve something outside of what's normally expected that you see how impressed people are. That 20, 21, 23-year-old you has been able to figure stuff out by yourself so young. Now, anything that you do now, in this stage of your life, I think, will be a memory. Just like even if you're my age, naturally you have memories of being a child. And I think about the things that I do now, some of actually the more unpleasant times. and I think about the things that I want to do. So let's not get it twisted, right? I have a lot of fun, and I'm not going to say otherwise, it's true. But there are times where I know that people are going out, and I don't want to go out because I've got so much work to do. There are times where I'm watching people's social media stories, and they're on holiday far away. We had a few nice days of sunshine, but have a look at it, right? We're back in typical England, as in grey weather. Fortunately it's quite warm, unfortunately it's not raining, but you get the point, right? I want to go on holiday right now, and I can afford to, I actually can. But why am I not doing it then? Well, I could have 1 to 2 years worth of travel in the world, probably right now if I'm honest, due to all of the different ideas and business I've tried, and obviously some I've succeeded at, as you'll know, but I haven't chosen to do that yet. Now, admittedly, at some point, things have to give, right? And you've got to have some fun in life, so I probably will end up going on a holiday at some point. But the point is, right, to gloss over that, the point is, the reason why I don't do that is because I understand one thing's true. As much as I'd love to do that, if I do this right, if I do this properly, if I do this seriously, what I mean is the game of life, because you guys know I try all these different businesses. If I do it properly, and if the results keep pouring in from admittedly from my work, but if they do, I could have 20, 30, 40, 50 years after this of traveling the world, of having fun, of doing all this sort of stuff. And by the way, as you all know, 30, it is not really that old, is it, in terms of how long you live for? Like, you can be in better shape and probably a much better person at 30 than what you were at 20, so what I'm saying is, I know it's important to get stuck in with the work, and like I say, don't assume that I have no fun and it's all work, because it isn't. I have a lot of fun, and there's even days where I do no work, and that's fine, and obviously the results could be better, but the trade-off for having a little bit less money is actually having a life. So I'm not going to really complain about it. But the point I'm trying to make is one that I think still stands true, right? I'm not saying give up all of your life to work. I'm not saying never drink again. I'm not saying don't go out clubbing. I'm not saying don't do this or don't do that. What I'm saying is, whilst you can still do that, and whilst you still should do that if that's what genuinely appeals to you, understand one thing's true, right? You get one shot at this, and right now you've got the best chance of it you ever can have. You've got the ability to make mistakes and not get judged for it. You've got the ability to try new things and not have the financial repercussions be like life-changing. You can go anywhere without much responsibility for most people. Of course, I know there's going to be some people in the comments whose circumstances are substantially different. It's like, oh, I'm 18 and I've got a full-time job and I have to pay all these. But I understand that, right? So I'm just giving a generalization, right? Issues at this age are generally not that serious, but when you've got the rest of your life to think about, maybe an extra 60 to 80 years after the age of 20, why not have a think about what that time looks like? Now again, it's not something that you can necessarily take for granted, and you might not make it. I hope I do, and I hope you guys do as well, but you might not. But on a statistical likelihood, it's more likely than not, let's be honest, right? So let's hope that we all do. And assuming that that is the case, and we're all going to live to at very least, let's say 60, does it not make sense to work for 10 years? Let's say we live to 100, for example. 1/10 of your life doing the hard work. The other 90% of it, well, 10% of it you were a child, so we'll say 20% of it's written off. The other 80% is fun, or it can be. Or it's not worrying. I'm not saying that anything's a right way or wrong way to live, this is all just my opinion, but you do see it quite a lot. The birds are being quite noisy right now. I suppose they're in that tree just above me, which explains a lot. Anyway, you do see it quite a lot. See these people who had their 20s and they spent them all, well, I don't know, doing whatever, and it didn't really benefit them. And because of that, they're starting off at a much worse point. They've got a much longer road to go down. That's not a problem, and we are all where we are, but if knowledge is power, why sit there and actively make mistakes that we know are wrong? That's all I'm going to say for this one, right? And in my eyes, I'm doing what I can to deal with that, in the sense that I'm making these YouTube videos, which one, I hope to obviously engage other people, which is kind of like I guess a social mission of mine. But also, I'm not even gonna lie, it's obvious, I do business, I'm interested in the financial possibilities that can come with a YouTube channel. Off of that, I've got my Patreon course where I teach people how to make money like I do online, link in the description. And also, I do my reselling online, and I'm always looking at new ideas. My point is, for me, I know what the right thing for me to do is. I want a lifestyle where I don't have to worry about money. I want a lifestyle where, if I look out my window, for example, and I see this grey stuff, I want the sort of lifestyle where I can say, you know what, I'm going to have a week in, I don't know, Dubai or something like that. Whether that ends up being the case or not, I do not know. But what I do know is, I want to sit there at the end of the mission, even if it was at a point where I say, you know, I should have spent my 20s doing whatever. The point is this: you make mistakes in life, whether you like it or not. You only get the answers after you've made mistakes, which is a quite hurtful thing to realise. But when we do realise that, you're going to have errors along the way either way. So I want to at least have the ability to look back at my past and say, even if it's all gone wrong, I did my best bet, or I had my best try. As long as I've done that for me, I can be happy. As I previously said, what that means and what that looks like is going to vary from person to person, but I just think we're at a point in life where things appear hard and things are. You're in your 20s, let's say, but you've got the greatest advantage, arguably, that you'll ever have. What you lack in skills, you have in time, and what you have in time, you can't get back once it's gone. So, for myself, my mission is just to use it wisely. That's all for this one. Like I say, just like a few of the videos that I filmed today, I guess I'm in more of a thoughtful mood, really, because there's not really a question to answer here. It's just me giving an open dialogue. I'll leave you with this quite nice shot, I think, of what is a train line just over there, and the bridge that comes with that. And well, we'll finish the video now. So do drop me a comment and an opinion if you want. I'm always interested in hearing your guys' journeys and experiences. You know, it really does fascinate me, and it's one of the things that I love so much about doing this. So do drop me a comment, whatever you want it to be. Thank you, and see you soon.